Hello everyone, myself Vivek from ISC department. Today me and my friend will going to explain about the topic control statement used in C programming. First we will understand what are control statements. A control statement is a statement that manages the flow of execution of a program. It allows the programmer to control the order in which statements are executed based on the certain condition or criteria. Control statements include some constructs like conditional statements, for example, if, else, switch, etc. Then the looping statements like for, while, etc. And the branching statements like break, continue, and return, etc. These statements plays a very vital role in controlling the program flow and enable the creation of more complex and dynamic algorithm. In the under of this control statement, we will learn about the if statement, if else statement, if else ladder, and then the switch statements and the go to statements, and further more topics about these control statements. Now we will discuss about the if statement. If statement which allows for conditional branching based on the specific condition. If the condition is true, the associated block of code is executed. This is the simple flowchart representation of the if statement. It is having a starting point and the condition. If the condition is true, the code related to that condition is going to be executed. In this is the simple syntax for the if statement, if and the condition, and the set of block of code is executed if this condition is true. For example, we can see here we have initialized a value of x as 10. Then here we will check the condition whether 10 is greater than 5. It is absolutely true, so it will execute the block of code which is here in this context. It will execute as x is greater than 5. Like this way, first it will check the condition. If the condition is true, then it is going to execute the block of code which is associated to it. By this way, this if statement is going to work. Now we will going to study about the next statement, that is if else statement. In if else statement, this extends the functionality of the if statement by providing an alternative block of code to execute if the initial condition is false. This is the simple representation of the if else statement by using the flowchart. It is having a starting point. If the condition is true, then it will execute the code which is related to the if body. If the condition is false, then it will execute the code related to the else body. Then statement just below it will execute, then it will going to exit the program. This is the simple syntax for the if else statement, if and a condition. If this condition is true, this code will going to be executed. If it is false, then only this else statement is going to be executed. By this simple example, we can understand it. Int x equal to 3. We have initialized the value of x, which is a variable with the value of 3. First, we will check the condition whether 3 is greater than 5. It is wrong. So, or wrong or false. So, the printf statement is not going to be executed. Then it will go for the else statement. It directly execute that x is not greater than 5. If we have taken the x value as 7, then it will execute the above statement or the if blocked code that x is greater than 5. By this way, first it will check the condition. If this condition is false, then only it go for the else. If this condition is true, then it will execute the block of code with respect to the if statement. Now then we will next study about the if else ladder. If else ladder, this constructor is used when there are multiple conditions need to be checked. If it allows the series of conditions to be evaluated and the corresponding block of code need to be executed. This is the simple representation of the else if ladder by the help of the flowchart. Here we have a start and we have three conditions. If this three condition one condition is true, then only it will going to execute the block of code with respect to it. like this way. This is the simple syntax for the else if ladder. It is having a if statement and a condition. If this condition is true, then it will execute this block of code. Then also it will check for the another condition. If this condition is true, then it will execute this block of code. When this both the condition are false, then this else statement is going to be executed. By this simple example, we can understand this concept. Here we have initialized the value of x as a 7. First, in if condition, it will check whether the value of x is equal to 5. It is false, so then it will move to the else if statement. In else if statement, it will check that x is equal to 7. Actually, the x means the value of 7 is equal to 7, so the else if statement is going to be executed, and it will execute the block of code, and it will give the output as x is 7. Otherwise, it will going to execute and it will say that x is neither 7 or 5. If the value of x is neither a 7 or 5, then this block will going to be executed. But like this way, the else if ladder is going to be work. Now next we will see about the switch statements. Now we will talk about the switch statements. The switch statements is used to select one choice from the multiple options based on the value of a expression. It provides a more efficient alternative way to use the multiple if-else loop. So this is the simple representation of switch statements by using the flowchart. Switch statements, it will directly check for the cases and it will execute that cases. Whichever the cases is true, then it will execute that block of code and it will break that statement there itself. This is the simple syntax for the switch statement. We will use the switch keyword and an expression. This expression is going to be evaluated for all the cases. In which cases this expression is equal to it, that case will going to be executed in the program. Otherwise, the default case will be executed and it will say like something code which had been written in that default statement. We can understand this switch statement by using a simple example. We can see here we are declared a character grade as B. Now switch will check for the B variable. In the case B, we will check for the B. So this block of code is going to be executed. It will print that good. If it take the grade as A, then it will print as excellent. Here it will not check if else loop like one another. It will directly go to that case and print the block of code which is present in it. Then it will break the statement. If we have not given the value as A or B, then it will execute the default message that it will print that keep it up. Like this way, the switch statement is going to be work. Then now we will next see about the goto statements. Lastly, we will cover about the statements like goto. The goto statements allow for transferring control to different parts of the program. It is often used sparingly due to its potential to create complex and less readable code. Okay, this is the simple syntax for the goto statement, and this is the flowchart representation for it. By the help of the label name, we can jump to the statements. This is the simple example. Here we are using the declared the count as 0, and we are going to loop it and print the count, how much it will going to be. It will give a output as 0 1 2 3 4, and each time it will going to be count. Like this, the goto statement will going to run again and again by the help of the loop. Here loop is the label name which we have used. By the help of the flowchart, we can easily understand this concept that go to label is used if the this statement we are executing and need to execute the code again and again. You can use the go to with a label, then it will again start executing from the first. By the help of the go to statement, we will going to jump directly to there. But this is the all concepts about the go to, if else ladder, switch, and like this way we have learnt about all the topics related to the control statement. The further iterative statements will be explained by my friend Suhas. He will going to explain about while, do while, for loop, break, continue, like other statements. These go to statements also we can say about the jump statement, where we are jumping from one block of line of code to the directly to the another code by the help of the label name. So the further topic will be explained by Suhas. So I hand over my session to the Suhas. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Suhas from ASCII department. So today I'm going to be discussing about the next set of topics in the control statements. So in the previous session, my friend Vivek had covered what are conditional statements in C and its uses and how they work. So now I'm going to be discussing about the iterative statements and the jump statements. So what are iterative statements? Iterative statements are used to repeat the execution of a list of statements depending upon the value of an integer expression or a block of code. So it can also be used to execute a block of code. We will discuss all the statements. There are mainly three types of loops: the while loop, do while loop, and the for loop. So, what is while loop? The while loop is used to repeat one or more statements while a particular condition is true. In the while loop, condition is tested before any of the statements in the statement block is executed. So, this is the syntax of the while loop: the while keyword, the condition, and the code to be executed if the condition is true. So, let's take a simple example to understand how the while loop works. First, so in this program, we can see the value of I, or sorry, the variable of I is initialized to 1. And in the while condition, we have given that I is less or equal to 5. So how does the while loop work? First, the condition is checked. When the condition is true, it's going to go inside the block of code and print whatever statement is given there. So first, let's see. The value of I is 1. 1 is less or equal to 5, which is true. So therefore, it's going to print the value of I, which is 1. And then it's going to get incremented again. So now, the value of I is 2. 2 is less or equal to 5. Again, the condition is true. So it's going to print the value of I, 2. So now 2 is going to get incremented again. So the value of I now is 3. 3 is less than or equal to 5. Again, the condition is 2. So 3 is going to get printed. And the value of I is incremented again. So now the value of I is 4. So 4 is less than or equal to 5. Again, the condition is 2. So therefore, 4 is going to get printed. After the incrementation, the value of I is 5. So 5 is less than or equal to 5. Obviously, 5 is equal to 5. So therefore, the value of I is also printed. And after this incrementation, you can see the value of I is 6. 6 is less than or equal to 5, which is false. So therefore, this print statement is not going to get executed. The control will jump to the immediate statement outside the block. So the control is going to come outside the while loop and it's going to execute the rest of the statements. Since 6 is not less than or equal to 5. This is how the while loop works. This is a simple flowchart of a while loop. So the test condition is true, the while loop body is going to get executed. If it's false, the loop is going to get terminated and the control is going to go outside the while loop. And the next loop is the do while. The do while loop is somewhat similar to the while loop. The only difference between the do while loop and the while loop is that the test condition is tested at the end of the loop, not at the beginning. As you can see in the while loop, first we test the condition and then we go inside the block of code. Whereas in the do while loop, it's the opposite. So this is the syntax of the do while loop. The do keyword, the code to be executed, and obviously the while condition. So let's take another simple example, simple program to see how the do while loop work. First thing, we initialize the variable of I again to 1. And so we can see the do while condition. So inside the do while condition, first we're going to print the value of I, that is 1. And then we check the condition whether 1 is less or equal to 5. That is the while condition, which is true. So therefore, it's going to go back inside the block of code and then increment the value of I to 2. So the value of I gets incremented until the condition is true. So therefore, value of I is going to get printed still 5, since 5 is less or equal to 5 is the only condition which is true. After that, after the last condition where 5 is less or equal to 5, which is true, it's going to go inside the block of this code and it's going to increment the value of I, which is going to be 6. 6 is less or equal to 5, which is false. Therefore, the control is going to come outside the loop and it's going to execute the rest of the statements. So this is how the do while loop works. First we print the statement inside this, then we check the condition. If the condition is true, it's going to go inside the set of block of code again and then increment the value or update the value. And then keeps on incrementing the value until the condition is false. So as you can see, the output for the for line program is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is the flowchart of the do while loop, just similar to the while loop. But the major disadvantage of using a do while loop is that it always executes the code at least once. So even if the user enters some invalid data or invalid values, the loop is still going to be executed at least once. And the last loop is the for loop. The for loop is used to repeat a task until a particular condition is true. The syntax of the for loop is as follows. The for keyword, initialization, condition, or update. Update can also be called as incrementing the value or decrementing the value, depending on how the user wants the program to be, and the block of code to be executed. So let's take a simple program. So in the main function, we can see again we use the for loop, and we have initialized the value of I to 1. And we are given the condition that I is less than or equal to 5. So the output of the statement is going to be similar to the while or do while loop. It's nothing but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So how does this work? So first, the value of I is going to increment or initialize. So the value of I is going to be 1. 1 is less than or equal to 5, which is true. So the control is going to go to the print state inside the block. It's going to print the statement that's print the value of I, 1. And then it's going to come back to the for loop, update the value. So the value of I is now going to be 2. So 2 is less than or equal to 5, which is again true. So it's going to again print 2. Then increment the value. Then again check the condition whether 3 is less than or equal to 5, which is true. So again print 3. Then increment the value. Then again check the condition whether 4 is less than or equal to 5, which is true. Print the value of 4 and then increment the value of I, and then check the condition again, which is nothing but 5. 5 is less than or equal to 5, which is obviously true, and then the value of 5 is going to be printed, and then it's going to increment the value to 6. So now the value of I is 6. Is 6 less than or equal to 5? Which is not, which is obviously false. So therefore, uh, the control is going to come outside the for loop and it's going to execute the rest of the statements. Therefore, the output of this following program is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this is the flowchart of the for loop. As you can see, first is supposed to initialize the expression, then test condition. This is the test condition. If the test condition is true, it's gonna go inside the body of the loop. After going inside the body of the loop, it's gonna update the expression. That's nothing but increment the value of I or decrement the value of I. And if the condition is false, it's gonna come outside the loop and terminate the loop and execute the rest of the statements outside the for loop. So we are done with the iterative statements. So the next set of statements are nothing but the jump statements. There are many two types of jump statements. One is the break statement and the other one is the continuous statement. So what is the break statement? The break statement is mainly used to terminate the execution of the nearest enclosing loop. It can be used in for loop, while loop, do while loop. It can also be used in a switch statement. What is the syntax of a break statement? The break keyword with a semicolon. This is the syntax of a break statement. So let's take an example of how the break statement works. So here you can see we are using a for loop. Inside the for loop, as usual, we have initialized the value, given a condition, and then we're going to increment it. So inside the for loop, we can see there's an if condition, which is nothing but if I equal to 5, it's going to break. So whenever the break statement is going to be encountered, it's going to terminate the execution of that enclosing loop. So the output of this program is going to be 1 to 4. So in this example, this loop is going to print the numbers from 1 to 4. But when I is equal to 5, break statement is encountered, which terminates the loop, which terminates the entire loop. So therefore, the value of 5 and above are not going to get printed. Therefore, the output of this program is going to be the numbers from 1 to 4. This is how a break statement exactly works. And break statement is mainly used in the switch case because, as you can see in switch case, there are multiple cases which are encountered. So if one of the keys is executed, you're supposed to break it at that very point. Otherwise, it can check the other case and also execute the following cases also. Therefore, the break statement is used in the switch case also. And this is the flowchart of the break statement. So the next jump statement is the continuous statement. The continuous statement is used to skip the rest of the statements within the loop and move to the next iteration. The syntax of the continuous statement is just like the break statement, just the continue keyword following the semicolon. So as you can see in this example, we are using a for loop where we initialize the value of I to 1 and the condition is I is less than or equal to 10, then increment the value if the condition is true. So how does this work? In this example, this loop is going to print the numbers from 1 to 10, excluding 5. That is because, as you can see, the for loop works in a way where it's first going to check the condition, whether 1 is less than or equal to 10, which is true. It's going to keep on incrementing the value until the condition is false. But since we have kept a condition where if I equal to 5 continue, this continue keyword is going to act, and this continue keyword is going to act as a jump statement. So it's going to skip the current iteration, that is, it's going to skip the printing of 5, printing the number 5, printing the value of 5, which is 5. It's going to print that statement, and it's going to print the rest of the numbers. So therefore, the output is going to be nothing but 1 to 4. It's going to skip 5, then it's going to print the rest of the numbers 6 to 10. And this is the flowchart of the continuous statement. So that's the end of the session. So let's do a recap. First, my friend Vivek has taught you guys about the conditional statements, which are if else, and then the switch case, and also the else if branch, and also the goto statements. And then we have discussed about the iterative statements, which are mainly three types of there are mainly three types of iterative statements. That is for loop, the while loop, and the while loop. And two types of jump statements is nothing but break and continue statements. So hopefully all of you have understood this, or got an idea of how the loops work in C programming language, as loops are very much important in C programming language. Yeah, so thank you. That's the end of the session. Thanks a lot. Signing off.